Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining this session. Yeah, I think you guys are going to get a ton of value, both from like Ellie and I, of like our experience of really growing and scaling creative systems, how we've done it, all our basically tips and tricks and secrets. So yeah, I think you guys are gonna absolutely crush it with this. I'll do a quick intro. My name is Raf. I'm the co-founder of Admanage, and I used to be the ex-head of performance for Zoe. Um, and basically, I was there from like before spending anything to scaling it to 1 million a month there, on just the UK market alone. And experimented with lots of different ways to, how you structure your team, how you get a lot of ads, how you really make good winning ads a lot. And before that, I've been in the performance world, at Mojo, and then before at MVF at a agency. So yeah, lots of experience, lots of different verticals, lots of different channels. And yeah, I like to think I have a good understanding of it now. Um, but yeah, and I'm yeah, pleased to introduce Ellie as well, who's on this panel. Yeah, Ellie, absolutely unreal. Helped like Wild get to an exit, which has been actually quite rare in the UK, I'd say, in the past like couple of years. And really grow that system. I'll let you do like a presentation, but yeah, I just want to hype you up a little bit.
Thanks, appreciate that. Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Ellie. I'm head of performance marketing at Wild. I noticed on the invite for this session it says Wild CMO. That's a bit of a mess up on the events organizers, but I'm taking it as manifestation because who knows, maybe one day. But yeah, we are a refillable bathroom brand. Our mission is around banishing single-use plastic from the bathroom. And as Ralph said, been on a huge journey, made headlines this year, being acquired by Unilever. But yeah, we've been a really fast growing team, and hence we've learned a lot along the way, and so excited to like share some of those learnings with you. I guess we can jump in then, shall I? Take it
Yeah,
away.
let's kick this off. Yeah.
Nice. I guess actually before I jump in, we've got the chat pumping now, so I'll just say like we really want this to be a discussion. Like me and Raf love performance marketing, and we're kind of hoping that the people who've joined will love it as much as us. So ask all the questions. Like I love playing devil's advocate myself. Like please do it. Let's just like spark a bit of a debate, and make it a really useful time for everybody. Cool. I'm assuming everyone can see the screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. Obstacle one dealt with. Cool. So I thought I'd like set the scene a little bit to this like very relatable situation, of hitting the growth wall. I'm sure a lot of people on this call can relate to that, where ad costs are up year on year, month on month. The tactics that used to work for you are no longer working. You've gone to events, you've heard in the industry like creative is the most important thing, and so you kind of find yourself just like throwing it all at a wall and hoping something's going to stick. I think the truth is like this problem is like harder than ever. Everyone's caught onto that idea of creative being the most important thing, and so it's just like even more competitive than ever, really hard to stand out and have success. And I suppose that's why we're all here today, like we're all looking to grow. And I guess I just wanted to say up front, like we are not the perfect unicorn as a business who've like figured everything out. We are constantly evolving and improving how we work as a team. That being said, we have learned a few things along the way, and we've evolved our processes, and they work for us very well. So I thought aim of today is to share with you how things work for us. And as I said at the beginning, the hope of that is so we spark a bit of a debate. I hope I get some questions, some like really thoughtful questions that mean that I will not just talking to you, but I also will come away with learning a lot as well. And I have no doubt with the people in the room, especially Raf here, who loves to probe me with sorts of great questions. I certainly will.
Yeah, I
Um,
think as well, just to add to this part, we at Admanage, like we work with like a lot of people, over 100 companies, and everyone I talk to has a slightly different way of doing things. And what I've learned really is like there is no one best way of doing it. So we're talking from our experience of really like scaling teams and what we tested and what's worked and what hasn't. So you can kind of skip a lot of those mistakes that we've both gone through. And that should basically help you save a lot of time and effort and everything. But yeah, this is from our perspective, basically.
Cool. So, yeah, as I said, that's basically what we want to share with you today. In terms of very quick agenda, so if this doesn't sound relevant for you, time to leave. We're going to talk about why speed and volume is number one metric, how and why I guess we've set up an internal user generated content pod, how we come up with fresh ideas, how we practically set up and run ads in Ads Manager. After that, how we analyze the data we get, and then finally the internal tools that we use to speed everything up. But before I jump in, I thought I'd start with like sharing a reflection about big companies. So prior to joining Wild, I worked at Deliveroo, and then prior to that, I worked at a performance marketing agency. So worked across a lot of big global brands. And now actually like Wild's been acquired by one of them. We're acquired by Unilever earlier this year. And I wanted to say something, not to throw shade on big companies at all, because they are obviously super sophisticated. I've learned so much by working with them. I'll learn a lot from Unilever, of course. But in my experience, it's that sort of sophistication can often be a bit of a roadblock, as it lends itself to you being so meticulous about every creative that's being launched, every experiment that's being launched, all has to be designed with data scientists and statistical significance and everything. I think a funny anecdote about that is so much so that when I interviewed at Wild, I later learned that the founders had a bit of a debate about, they liked me, but is she going to be too corporate? Is she going to be able to move at the speed that we need her to? And I guess like my biggest reflection since going from a big company such as Deliveroo to joining Wild is that the speed in which smaller companies can work is truly their superpower. And so I think you'll find that's baked into a lot of the discussion today and a lot of things I'm going to talk about. Like I think a big part of how we've managed to be successful is like we're always looking for ways and how we can do more and move faster. But hopefully, as you'll see, a lot of the ways of working can be applicable to bigger companies as well. So yes, that's like it's a bit of a provocative statement. So only two things you should focus on are speed and volume. I can hear Raf being like, "What about quality?" Which is very true, and we'll come on to that. But I think especially for brands getting started, smaller brands, like use your superpower of speed and volume. Yeah, cool. Let's jump
Yeah,
in
this
then.
is that
Yeah,
just
go
the yeah, super quick on this. Yeah, because I get asked this a lot. Uh, and people are like, "Oh, if I can only do one or the other, like which one should I really focus on?" And the answer for most people is volume. Because you always get humbled of like, "Oh, I'm surprised that ad worked," you know? Like sometimes it's like a really like ugly type of ad that will work. Uh, and you can only really get that from like doing a very high volume, a lot of testing. And when you optimize more for quality first, you don't get like those reps in to really pump out a lot of volume to be able to get more of those winners. So it's like I'd usually say like, start with higher volume and then dial it back to quality. It's like you should always have some sort of quality bar. But yeah, anyway, it's like a mistake I see a lot of people make. And it's kind of like on like bigger brands type of thinking. It's like they focus way too much on quality and not enough on like, oh, actually, we need a lot of volume to get more winners. But anyways, yeah, back to you, Ellie.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. None of our unicorn ads, we would have predicted them to be those ones. So I completely agree. Cool. So I guess, yeah, jumping into nitty-gritty, I thought first do a quick poll. Would love everyone to throw in the comments if you know how many, if you don't know, I guess, how many ads you think you launched this week. 80, nice, 5, 7,
200
100
plus,
plus,
nice.
Liam, nice, nice.
150, wow, nice. 30, 25. Cool, it's good. We're only halfway through the week, so still got time.
Nice. So I thought I'd show the numbers that we are currently at with Wild. So on average per month, we're doing about 618 ads. This is a view that we have in Admanage. As you can see, like we onboarded in February, then March, and we've kind of scaled up every month. I'm not showing this just to be really arrogant and like we've got it figured out. We're doing way more than all of you. But I guess if I'm going to go on to show like the processes that we worked, I just wanted to give a stat to show like a bit of yeah, backing us to like why these processes are actually working and how they are actually helping us scale. And the first one I wanted to talk about was, I guess, like the first way that we've been able to scale is in-housing our user-generated content. So we probably like summer last year, we in-housed that resource and hired 3 content creators. This is them having a picnic on a Monday afternoon. Not everyone in this photo is a content creator, but I thought it was just quite a cute photo. We have 3 of them that are, and we basically have a creator per geo. So we have somebody that's focused on the US, somebody that's focused on DAC, and then somebody that's focused on the UK. These content creators are hired on payroll, and they're basically KPI'd on like volume of output, the spend that we get on their ads, and then also the hit rate as well, just to keep a sense check of like how their ads are performing against like the average of our ads within their given market. And I think why this has been a real step change for us versus exclusively working with agencies and like freelancers, it's 100% increased the output of the content that we get. I think just naturally, like these content creators are working 100% on Wild, versus when you're working with a freelancer who's maybe, you know, working with you and like 9 others. And so, yeah, the volume of output you're able to get from them is much better. Also increases the quality because they understand the brand so well. They live and breathe it. They're like engaging with people in the comments. They really understand Wild, our USPs, our proposition, our brand guidelines, all of that, so that the quality of their content is then really strong. They bring lots of like creative ideas. That was a big part of the hiring process, was like hiring creative people who can bring you know, creative and innovative ideas. But then I think also from an efficiency perspective, like you can do the math. If I've just said we're doing about 620 ads a month, you can pay freelancers, right, anything from like £50 to £500 per ad. We're not paying them that much per month, so it does just work out from an efficiency perspective as well. You're able to get the scale without having like crazy high creative costs.
Yeah, nice. I think as well another point of efficiency in the side of like cost is yeah, working with like external creators can be good, can get different diversity in as well. I had the same model at Zoe. I called them full stack creators. But it's basically the same thing. And I had found them from like different either like organic channels and inbound and would see like, oh, are people like naturally geared already to making videos, things like that. But what I found is like a really good kind of middle ground on this versus just in-house was to actually get one of these creators or actors. You could get like a real actor and hire them as a day rate and then bring them in on set. There's a website called Scouty. It's really good, better than like Airbnb because it gives you the commercial rights to film in places. And basically like rent out a house or something for a day, get like 2 creators, and you could basically run like 2 shoots at the same time just with your iPhone. And that maybe costs you, I don't know, anywhere from like 300 to 1,000 as a day rate, versus, and you could get like, I don't know, 200 videos in a day. You have, I don't know, 10, 15 scripts, 5 to 10 hooks per one. And basically in a day, you could get like a good chunk of like your monthly volume already. And you have a lot more control over how you film. So, and you can do this as well with your in-house creators, of course, kind of do the same shoot day as well. But this was something that worked really well for us at Zoe. And we basically do this on a monthly basis. But it was super cost efficient to get like a lot of ads done. But yeah, it's just, it can be a lot of effort. But yeah.
Yeah, I
And
like that
then,
model.
um,
Go
and
for
then
it.
I also wanted to ask you as well, is like these full stack creators or in-house like UGC, to be honest, are like really hard to find. Like I've had a struggle with it. So I'd love to know like what are your like top tips on like how you find these people into your team, like where we found your current team. I think that'd be super helpful for everyone here.
Yeah, sure. It's been a learning journey for sure. And you're right, it has been quite hard to hire. Um, we've had a lot of iterations on job titles that helps us find the right talent. So we started with user generated content creator. We've tried like social media content creator. Um, and actually what we found is like a different title works for different markets. So we found our UK content creator with like, I think the job title was literally user generated content creator. The person that we found focused on the US was like a senior, it was like a social media exec, sorry. So I definitely encourage you to like experiment a bit with the job titles. To your point, Rafa, like it is quite niche. But then I think how we've managed to find the talent, we hired for these roles in the same way that we did for other roles. So just like on LinkedIn, but we also tried like posting on our own social media channels, posting on TikTok, you know, hey, we're hiring a US content creator based in London, that kind of thing as well. Um, and I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I think then in the actual recruitment process, because the role that we're looking for is somebody who is a content creator, so they need to be super creative, but they also need to be analytical and like quite data driven and you know comfortable analyzing the performance of their creatives. So as part of the recruitment process, we had them do like analytical tasks, like in a Google sheet, just to make sure they know what they're signing themselves up for and they like enjoy that side of it as well. So it's probably a bit lengthier than like typical roles we've hired for. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Nice. Yeah, that's a lot more thorough than my hiring I did at Zoe. So you guys did well. And then the other part I wanted to add as well, just as like kind of a counter to this is at Zoe I experimented with like the in-house UGC model and then I pivoted to like a creative strategist and like a lot of video editors model, but still doing this like shoot to make it really cost efficient method. And that worked really well for me. For many kind of different reasons. But I found it was actually quite a scalable way as well to create a lot of creatives. Because you can kind of have like one or two like mastermind brains that get a lot of inspo from a lot of different stuff. And you can, with really good video editors, like the most important skill personally when hiring video editors is like how good is their file picking ability. So it's like if you give them like a Google Drive task, and it's like, cool, here's like 40 raw clips and like here's the script or story. It's like from those two things it's like make a video together, and it's like you're kind of judging on like how they pick the clips and how they mash it together versus giving like a very detailed brief because it's a lot harder to scale if you have to do a super detailed brief for every single video you want to do. But if you can kind of hand off a bit of that to a video editor who can understand that, it will like help you save so much time and scale as well. So that was another like really big or useful tip when like hiring for video editors specifically. But anyways, back to you.
Yeah, nice. No, I think it's a good point. I think that the advantage that model has versus ours is like you're working with different models or actors, actresses every month. And I should have made that point that we have this resource in-house, but we still do work with agencies and freelancers because we obviously can't have the same people showing up representing Wild all of the time. We recognize that we need to be more diverse. And so I can see like the one benefit your model has is like you get that without having to work with agencies as well. But the more
Mm.
ideas, the better. I think like agencies play a great role, regardless. I'm always like in favor of a hybrid approach.
Yeah, creative agencies are very useful
Yeah,
to get creatives quickly and just like it kind of gets you out of like a tunnel vision a little bit. I've always found it super helpful from that sense. So yeah,
agreed.
cool.
Cool. And then a bit about how we structure our week as a UGC within the UGC pod and like a wider performance marketing team, specifically focused on creative though. So on a Monday morning, we have a UGC pod stand up, and to that meeting, the content creators will bring weekend insights. Like they'll check using Motion, which I'm going to come on to tools later, but they use Motion to check what creatives have performed well over the weekend, what haven't, etc. And they'll use those kind of weekend numbers and the last week's numbers to plan the content they've got coming up for the week ahead. They'll then have we'll have check-ins on Wednesdays. They'll start delivering the content to the like media managers. On Friday, they do like a mini retro, having a look again at the content that's launched earlier in the week, how it's going, and start thinking about what content they're going to be working on in the following week. And this is a screenshot of somebody in my team who's actually a media buyer. calendar just to show like how she's structuring her week. So I thought it was a good example. So she's got like creative tests being refreshed on like a Tuesday and a Friday, and that's the kind of cycle that the team stick to, and then doing like a full refresh across Meta on a Wednesday and TikTok on a Thursday. So that's how things work on a weekly basis. We then have on a monthly basis brainstorm for new ideas, but also a time to like take a step back and look at more like macro trends. So we're keeping tabs on a weekly basis, what creative is working, what's not. Then we take a step back and look at, okay, what's been our best performing hooks? What sort of creative themes are working? We basically assign a team member a different tag within our naming convention. So like I said, that could be the hook, the theme. In this example here, I've got like the audio, and each person will have a look for the last 30 days and come to the meeting with insights on each of those areas. Then we have a bit of a roundtable discussion as a group, like why do we think that's working? And naturally, as we go through the session, we're like, oh, that hook's working. That had a really good CAC, but the thumb stop rate was really low. And like you start to then just like build creative ideas in the session naturally of like, let's combine that element with that element and that element. And then we kind of have this backlog then, which is something that the content creators will then use to feed into their weekly schedules as well.
Nice.
Yeah, these are kind
I
of the
just
metrics that we look at.
Yeah, for I think for from when I was at Zoe anyways, like the two most important which you have is like the weekly cadence. It's like you have to ship at the end of the week. The ads like always be launching kind of no matter even if it's like not a fully finished version, it's better that than not because sometimes that will still work. And then the other thing was like kind of what you were saying on the look back, the like reflection of the ad. And just like a tip I can give everyone here as well on this, and a slightly different approach is we'd have all the metrics, everything, but we'd also take like a qualitative approach on like I get everyone on the team to like we'd look at what are the top 5, 10 ads that won, the top 5 ads that like almost won, so like past testing but didn't go scaling. And we look at like each of these videos, and every person in like a round table will say why they thought it worked and why they didn't work. Because there will be some things that maybe, I missed that someone else spotted. And it's like you collate all these insights that you see. It's like, oh, this first frame had like a book in the shot. Or it's like, I gotta have the CGM in the first thing, or it's like I have to have this anticipation of what's going to happen, what's going on. Anyway, it's kind of like you try to pull these insights out essentially, which is hard to see from just a data perspective. And then you get this list, and it's like every shoot you do or every, weekly batch, you try to apply these like fundamentals to your ads. And you'll progressively see like you'll have a higher and higher creative win rate because you're hitting more of those points that resonates with your audience. But again, important to like have different ideas totally come in. But that was something that was probably like one of the most useful meetings internally is like those monthly retros. So yeah.
Yeah, I agreed. And that actually brings me on to the next point, which is a question I get asked a lot around how we keep coming up with like fresh ideas. So I guess one of the main things we've just spoken about now is like looking at what's working and kind of feeding that in. I think on top of that, the team is just chronically online. So they're always in the know of like trends that are going on. We have a shared Slack channel. They'll probably be posting like silly TikToks and stuff that they see and they want to like adapt on. But other things we use, so if we launch a new product, exit intent surveys are great for asking customers who haven't purchased like why that is, and that's been super insightful for some of our products, like people not sure about the ingredients. Boom, like go make some content explaining the ingredients. Looking at reviews, we've also got we do post-purchase surveys, do a lot of competitor research. We use Motion for that to see what other competitors are doing. And we've got Reddit threads. And then one I wanted to talk about specifically was like Facebook comments or just add comments generally. These are so insightful. I was quite amazed how much people comment on ads. But we have a shared Slack channel with our this guy called Charlie, who's our community exec. He is in charge of like responding to all the comments on organic and on our ads as well. And as you can see in this example, this like real life example, he's like feeding back to us, hey guys, seems like people are a bit confused about what the refills are made from, and that's clearly a barrier to purchase. So we'll then take that and focus our content on that. So just being like super data driven and making sure we're meeting the needs of our customers. I've got quite a fun example because I was thinking ad ideas are definitely everywhere. It just needs to know where to look. I think a build on that is like content creators are also everywhere within the office, depending on how persuasive you can be. This is an example of one of the comments we got on an ad that was a part of a batch of ads, like trying to focus on males. Bit of a funny comment of somebody saying they'd misunderstood the instructions of how to refill our deodorant, and yeah, you can read between the lines of what they had done. As soon as we saw this, we're like, this is great, we've got to make content about this. So we got Jack, who is head of retail, not in our team at all, to respond to it in a sort of deadpan way, as if like he thinks somebody's genuinely done this. I think this is like one of our like highest spending ads against that demographic for quite a while. Just got tons of engagement, people jumping to the comments to laugh. So yeah, I guess like ad ideas are everywhere, and so content creators, if you can be persuasive and get them to do it for you.
Nice. One thing I just wanted to add on the Facebook comments. It's quite a unique kind of like data source because it gives you like quite a top of funnel view of what people are saying compared to like reviews on Amazon or something, or even your own website. And this was one of the things at Zoe to help us also like generate new ideas and something we built specifically into Admanage. Like the first thing we did when we built our like comments feature is just to export a CSV, like all the comments, because we do like a sentiment analysis, how positive, negative they are, and looking at the extremes of the emotional extremes of negative and positivity. People will say like, "Oh, this sunscreen, for example, like smells really bad," and you can basically get like a bunch of these comments, see how much it recurs, and with the CSV export, you can put this into like Claude, ChatGPT, and have a prompt that's similar to like, okay, look at all these comments, address all the negative ones as objections, and use exact customer language on how they write. So the copywriting style is very different to kind of like your general prompt essentially. And this is really good. It's like weekly. It's like, okay, what new comments do we have? Like, let's put it in. Oh, this is a great new ad angle idea. And this was like one of the winners at Zoe, where we had someone who I can't remember the name, but we had like this catcher, this poop catcher that you put in the toilet for a gut health test, and people were calling it like a poop hammock. And I was like, oh my God, that's like such a good way to like say it. And it's like we started using that in our marketing, coming from that. So, anyways, yeah, that's like a really good example of doing that, and you can kind of have like whole scripts that generate from this as well. So, yeah.
I love that. Um, cool. And then I guess, yeah, another way of coming up with creative ideas, our good old friend ChatGPT. I've included this prompt that Ralph shared with me before. If you want to take a screenshot, I'll leave it on the screen for a bit. I'm not going to read it all. Or he's kindly offered you can WhatsApp him for more because he collects these prompts like old wine. I think we're actually also showing the slides if you haven't grabbed it yet, but it can be super useful. That being said, wanted to put a caveat in, like, I love ChatGPT, use it a lot, but like, don't forget, you need to know your customers, like, read what they're saying in reviews, the comments, all of that stuff. You're obviously going to know your customers way better than it ever will. Cool. We're probably like 75% the way through the content. So thought I'd just pause for a breath, check everyone's following along. I can see we're getting lots of comments, so I guess everybody is. So I'll keep
Yeah,
moving on.
we'll have some time at the end for a Q&A as well for all these
Yes,
questions. So
exactly.
we'll power through them. But yeah.
Nice. So ad account structure. I just wanted to share how we currently structure our creative testing. So this is how we do it. Essentially, we have a different campaign for creative testing across each of our markets. Every new creative test gets its own ad set and its own ad budget. So we use an ABO campaign. We split ad sets up by sort of like ad concepts, and that for us is like loosely defined as like a kind of unique angle, normally aimed at the same persona. So I've got some examples here which I realize aren't super useful, but you can see this is like within our US creative testing campaign, like the different ad sets that we've got. These are different ad concepts. A concept for us would be like a bunch of ads showing people how to refill the case, because there's been some confusion on that. And then how it works, we'll run that for a period of time. If the high spending ad in that ad set is like hitting our benchmarks of click-through rate, conversion rate, thumbs up rate, but most importantly, like CPA, that will then get copied over to our main campaigns. And we normally just keep it running in the creative testing campaign until it dies. But pretty straightforward. That's how we do things. And yeah, I guess wanted to say like the best thing about our creative testing ways of working is that it doesn't take much time because we use Admanage for like all of our ad uploading and like setting up creative tests. I genuinely think without it, I was reflecting on this, like I get such good feedback from people in my team about how much time I've saved them since like onboarding Admanage. We definitely still have the volume of creative, but perhaps wouldn't be able to upload the speed in which we do, or at least we wouldn't be having picnics in the park on a Monday afternoon because we'd just be at our desk uploading ads all the time. So yeah, just wanted a little plug there. And I guess like final couple of slides from me, going through something undeniably boring, but then something more interesting. Naming conventions, oh, such a drag. But they are obviously incredibly useful. I've just included on this slide the naming convention that we use. So to quickly chat through it, we have a job bag number. This is like a unique ID that we give to all of our creative concepts. Just helps us with organizing, being able to search for things in Google Drives and our asset management platform, and you have a unique ID. We then have like the concept name, the language, product category, product, the style of the ad, the hook that's being used, what USP we're talking about, the theme of it, if there's an offer being used, the source of it, has it come from the UGC pod, has it come from one of our agencies? If in the UGC pod, who's created that, the format, the quality, and the audio, basically. I think all quite standard stuff, but this is definitely a moving organism. I think every time we have, well, not every time, but almost all the time we have one of those big macro trends, like monthly sessions. We're like, oh, actually, we should capture that in the new naming convention, and it's like constantly evolving, and I'm sure it will continue to do so. But yeah, if anyone who wants to pop in the chat, if you think I'm missing anything, I'm definitely all ears.
This is quite a long list. Yeah. Controversially, I actually had a very simple naming convention at Zoe. I'd almost like just use a number because it's a lot easier to reference for me versus a long string. It's like actually something we built into Admanage because of that. But yeah, the what I was going to ask on this is I can see there's like a lot of value when you kind of get all the data and you do like a pivot table breakdown of like, oh, we're seeing like this trend go on. So I'd love to know like what, actionable kind of insights you got from doing this type of naming convention.
Yeah, sure. So I guess we can, like you're right, we can do pivot tables and analyze the data that way. We tend to do that in a more visual way. Like if I jump back to, can I
Hmm.
go back? Yeah. I'm sure I've got an example in here. Yeah, within Motion, like we can group ads based on, same as you would in a pivot table, group ads based on the different dimensions in there. And I mean, with this example specifically, that's something that's come up this year is like we've identified in order from doing this that there's a lot of nuance in terms of the audio that works best across our different markets. So, for example, in Germany, the like content that's like just talking to the camera like much more directly works a lot better than it does in other markets. Yeah, that's one that comes to mind off the top of my head. But tons and tons,
Interesting.
so much
Yeah.
so that the team are like incentivized to do it. They get enough out of it that it makes it worthwhile, I guess.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, because I think we kind of got a similar thing with the monthly retros with the qualitative looking at it, but you guys actually have a lot more data backing it, which is a lot nicer. And at least you can like semi-automate a lot of the naming as well, in certain different ways that we can talk about. But yeah,
Yeah,
sweet.
for sure. Nice. And then final slide from me, I just thought I'd quickly show what our current tech stack looks like. So as I mentioned, we use Admanage for all of our ad uploading. We use Focal for our asset management, Motion for creative analytics, which I've used, and then the UGC pod use a mixture of CapCut and Canva for like all of their creative creation. And then some AI tools. I haven't tested these yet. I know Raf, these are ones that you've recommended to me, VO3 Inkling, loads cropping up.
Yeah, VO3 is more of a recent one, and there's like a lot of like for me the signal on this is I'm actually seeing a lot more organic videos work on this. With like when VO2 came out, it wasn't quite good enough. There were a couple ones with Kling, kind of like these, like, I don't know if you've seen these ancient historical, like, oh, I saw one like 2 days ago, which is like, oh, where we have the Battle of Troy, and it's like the Trojan horse, and it's like vlog style. And then there was another like gambling company in the US, I can't remember, but like they did an NBA Finals ad, like all with VO3, and I'm like, I feel like it's just past the point now of like, oh, okay, this can actually work as an ad. If it's working organically, it could definitely work as a paid ad. So yeah, VO3 is kind of the newest one in like the past few weeks. Pling is also a very solid contender. You can do kind of like different frame inputs, like first frame and last frame. And like the top tip I'd give with these AI tools is actually the simpler your prompt is, the better. When you try to overcomplicate it, it goes off the rails. So, but yeah, there's like, I definitely keep testing like different AI tools. I'm kind of an AI nerd on this, so I love doing this in my spare time anyway. Um, but yeah, the game is changing pretty quickly on that front.
Yeah, agreed. Nice. Time for Q&A. Just checking what time we've got. Yeah, cool. We've got, yeah, I
Yeah.
guess it's 10:15. Let's fire through some of these.
Yeah, great. Let's get the questions up. Um, let's start. Yeah, there we go. So first question. Uh, so for hit rate, this is from Corey. Hey, what's up, Corey? For hit rate, is that versus average campaign margin or versus average? Is that what you mean, Corey?
So we work out hit rate. We look at average spend per ad for that market in a month, and then we look at the percentage of ads that have spent above that per content creator or like per creative source, I guess. I hope that answers the question, Corey. Let me know if not.
Cool. Well, okay, nice. And then this one from Ife, it's like any tips we can generate video scripts. Yes, actually something I found like last week, that's really, really good, is the latest Gemini 0605 model. If you go like AI Studio Google.com, this latest model is so good at writing. I've actually been using it in like some of my LinkedIn posts, and I'm like, it's like Claude used to kind of get me like 80% of the way there. Now it's getting me like 95% of the way there, which is really impressive. But this like way more natural writing style. You need like a good system prompt. It's a bit more complicated to get right, but it works super well and it's like free right now as well, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, cool. Hope that answers that question.
I
There's
see.
one from
Amy's asked.
oh
Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just going through them as well. Amy asked about overlaying audience targeting different personas, and in general, how do you manage different target personas, audiences? Yes, we do target personas as well. I think potentially what we're going to shift to is letting the algorithm find the personas for us. So like basically like let creative be the targeting. So at the moment we have broad targeting and then a mix of personas that we work well for us. What we're trying to think about at the moment is when we're approaching a creative concept, what persona is this talking to? And like we have rough personas at Wild. So we'll then like let's make a version for each of these that would appeal to those different personas and upload that with broad targeting and then let that the creative be the targeting and like, identify those personas if that makes sense.
Nice. We have one from Shelban. I hope I'm saying that right.
Oh,
On a
yeah.
weekly basis in the UK, what percent of total meta spend goes to testing, like testing creatives? Like
That's
as
a good
a rough
question.
average, I'd say.
It fluctuates so much. I'd say between like it could be between 5 to 20%. It changes based on business performance at that time. Like if our CAC's really good and we're spending a lot, then we can like push it a bit further. If it's bad, we'll scale back and like we'll reduce the ad set budget for creative testing. So sorry, that's a bit of an annoying answer, but I guess like rough proxy, maybe 15%.
Yeah, I think one way to think about it as well is testing is a loss-making process. Like most of your ads are not going to work. So it's like you want to think about it. It's like how do you minimize testing spend while maximizing the signal you get from it? so that you can ensure you get good enough quality signal to be able to like actually scale those ads, but not blast through a lot of budget. And kind of like putting a lot of ads to letting Meta sort is one way to do that. It's one of the best things I think of uh Meta's really taken away this concept of statistical significance with the algorithm. It's like actually able to predict before that. Technically kind of uses it in the back end, to be honest, but it's like you're able to test for a lot cheaper than you probably could like, 10, 15 years ago. So I think that's been super helpful, and you can get very creative on how you do your testing as well. Um, cool. Let me just go next question. Oh, this is a great one. It's from Vic. How do you strike the right balance between developing new ad concepts and optimizing existing ones? So like net new versus new ads.
That's a really good question. And I think that is one of the areas that we need to do better at. Because I think at the moment we skew way more towards just like net new, net new, net new. And we need to be better at like iterating our losers. Um, so I would actually say we don't have the right balance right now. I don't know, what do you think, Raf? Do you think there's like a percentage that's optimal in your experience?
I've heard so many different percentages. I think you want to try to make the iteration as autopilot as possible because it doesn't really take like that much to do it. And like you don't want to focus a lot of effort, but you still want to do it. And like you really want to use your creative like juices to really focus on the net new. And how I'd like to think about it is actually like a blend of both. Is when I'm making ads, I like to think of what is the like core concept and what's the idea? Like what's the core concept as format and what's the idea? And I'll give an example. One could be like a street interview, right? I could go street interview and then I could go the idea is like I go up to people and ask why sunscreen like why this sunscreen smells bad or something like that. And I can do pump different ideas. So it's kind of like a mix, right? Pump different ideas into this format because I know it works and spends a lot for me. Or I could take that sunscreen angle and I could put it in different formats of like instead of street interview, I could do like an unboxing version or something like that. Whereas like actually mixing and matching these different ways is a really good way of kind of hitting both of those, but also giving you the best chance of actually getting new winners. So that's kind of like how I've thought about it personally, but there definitely is a balance. And I find that like it usually shifts like, okay, this month we're doing like a lot of net new, this month we're doing a lot of iterations. It depends like how many recent winners you've had. If you have like five recent winners, it's like, okay, let's do a lot of iterations because you might not need it. And it depends how long your ads also take to fatigue and things like that. But yeah, it's a really good question. So there's one from Joanna. What's the best social media platform to test ideas before rolling winning ads to more expensive social media platforms? Example, Insta being much cheaper to test than LinkedIn ads.
I'd say Meta for sure as the cheapest.
Not not TikTok.
No, I find Meta's algorithms like more like faster, basically, more responsive. But I guess it depends on your audience as well, because they're different audiences. So my
Yeah,
gut is
what I
Meta.
found if you're quite an international brand, you can do different geos to do testing. So it's like you can test in the Philippines, for example, if you're like an app, and that's like 10 times cheaper than like US or tier one, for example. Uh, and that's like same platform, but just different costs. So you can get creative in the same platform itself. And ideally, it's like you want to test in like whatever is scaling the most for you, because that will give you the most relevant signal of how you do your like creative graduation of like going from testing to scaling, and you want that percent to be as high as possible, obviously. Um, cool. Question from Rosie. Hey Rosie, where's the best person you've hired from, and how close does their past content have to be in your vertical? It's a very good question.
Um, as in what company have they come from?
I think like how closely does like their experience matter to like what they do day to day? Correct me if I'm wrong, Rosie, but that's how I'm interpreting it now.
Okay, sure. It like all of the content creators that we have did not have a background in performance marketing at all. Some of them were completely new to content creation, other than they would do it a bit for their own like social own social medias. But we focused on hiring the right like traits, I guess. Creative, analytical, like go-getter, and then we've trained up like majority of the team have come in. as execs, and we've trained them and like developed them in the skills that they need.
Nice. I have probably like two more questions. This one is from Sai. When do you decide to pause the test and send it to scaling? I love this question.
Uh, you, it's really actually such a hard question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Uh, Normally, right, it's not based on necessarily like time, but more like spend and uh like volume of conversions that we've seen come through. So sometimes that can be in a day, because if we spend £100 on an ad a day and it's got, above average conversions, you can see straight away it's going to be a winner. Um, so it kind of depends. What about you, Raf?
Um, yeah, I mean, with those like unicorn level ads, it's like when it'll take literally all the ad spend in that ad set, and it's
Yeah,
like
I
nothing else will
know.
spend. It's very obvious, actually. But I think the harder ones are like more the B tier ads that are like on the line of like they could be good enough. They kind of like good
Yeah,
supplement ads in your core campaigns, and those ones are tough. And normally, I've usually have it on two metrics, which is spend and what's it called? And like whatever CPA equivalent is. And basically, I will put like the whole ad set to maybe have like, I don't know, depends on every company, but like, let's say like £50 for the whole ad set. And it's like maybe two or three ads will get over like £10 spent. So it's automatically, it's like if that ad didn't even spend, it's like it's not going to be a winner in my experience. And then number two is like, cool, what was the CPA on those levels? And if you have a higher CPA, then maybe do like 500 per ad set. Like whatever, that doesn't matter. But I look at like how much they can actually spend, like the spend velocity almost, because it's very indicative of how much it's going to scale in the account from my experience. Um, but yeah, cool. We'll
yes.
take one last question. There's so many.
Yeah,
Uh, from Amy, I think it's a very good, like, simple one of like, do you use ASC for scaling?
yes, we do. Yeah.
And do you use it as well as like a manual campaign or just ASC?
No, always ASE most of the
Interesting.
time.
How come?
Yeah, just what's worked best for us, really. Um, yeah, we do like broad
Okay, cool.
targeting.
Cool. That was a short and simple one. So let's do one last question. Um,
Okay, maybe talk about one
so
of the
this
ones
one is,
on around. Oh, sorry.
oh, which one? Do you see one?
I was going to
Yeah,
say
there's like,
there's a few around attribution which I didn't cover in the session, so I can
okay,
maybe just talk about. We're going to be using a tool called Clara for attribution. So we'll get to talk about they pass their attribution numbers like back to Meta, so we can start to optimize towards those metrics rather than Meta's attribution. Because I saw there's a question on there around Meta's attribution being unreliable sometimes. Attribution window that we use is 7-day click and 1-day engaged view. And that's the same with InMotion. I'm sure somebody asked about it with InMotion as well.
nice. Speaking of tools and attribution, I just wanted to ask everyone, I can share my screen actually. Yeah, just one last thing. Is it okay if I share it with you, you know how like Ellie and team and like 100 other different companies like launch all their ads in literally minutes? It's good a hell yeah in the in the chat here.
Oh yeah.
Uh nice, nice. Cool. So yeah, I'll go through this super quickly. Um, but yeah, basically you're probably familiar from something like this. I don't know if it's like a lot of PTSD for everyone here, but this is like how most people launch ads. It's like they will go through every single ad, they'll put every single setting, have to put everything in. There's so much copy pasting. And it's I think every quarter it's like an extra like few clicks to launch a single ad. And it now takes like many, many minutes just to launch a single ad. And we've really like simplified this in a way with Admanage where basically all you need to do is like two key steps where you essentially you search for the ad set you want to launch into. And if you do like a testing strategy, that is you duplicate a campaign or an ad set every time, I can come in here and literally just call this June 18th. And it'll duplicate all of it for me with all the same settings, but without any ads inside. So it's kind of like a very common type of process. And then it'll auto replace it for me. And then I can load my creatives like directly from Google Drive. So you can see in here, I have all these creatives, but I can just make it easier and just select the entire folder. And then all of my copy, headline, variations, links, everything is basically like preset for me. So I don't need to click any of that stuff. And I just need to click launch. And that's it. It's like as easy as that to launch as many ads. And this is why, yeah, like it's not a really a problem for your team anymore, Ellie. And kind of like I saw like the ad thing of like, you started on like 200, then 400, then 600. It's like it was a lot easier to scale all the amount of ads you do, and then therefore you can like get more spend, more winners, everything. So yeah, this we make this into essentially Breeze, and it's like all those like creative enhancement settings as well. You can turn them off, automatic naming convention, kind of like what you're talking about, like how it's like super super tight, and like a bunch of different settings as well that you could do. But anyway, this has been like instrumental to like so many companies scaling. Um, so yeah, I kind of just wanted to do a quick run through. And if you did want like more creative control, we also have the table view as well. But yeah, I wanted to give everyone here. This is actually the first like Admanage webinar, and I wanted to yeah basically kind of give you guys like a special offer. So I think Mikhail is sending something in the comments now. But we've never done this before, but we're going to offer, yeah, 90% off for everyone on this call now for the first 30 days. So if you're in-house, that's only £50. And yeah, that's like an insane type of discount. And we also do a 30-day like full refund, no questions asked type of thing. Because for us, it's really important as like someone who's personally faced all these pain points as well. It's so important that you get like a lot of value from it. And we really like stand by this. And like on top of that, for anyone out there who might know this, we also created this other tool, AdScan, that we're going to be merging into AdManage. So you'll get free access to that as well. And this is even more kind of the enterprise level, but like unlimited Slack support from us. So you're connected directly with us. And it's like super handy. And like AdScan is like a competitor inspiration tool. Really useful if you need to find like new winning ads, especially from the EU ad library, because all the impression there is public. Happy to chat more on that like a different time. But yeah, this costs like 300-400 a year, and other tools like 1,200. So this part of the inclusion, uh, just because you join, the webinar today. So just to recap, once again, 90% off for the first 30 days. And this is only valid for the next 24 hours. And you also get like ad scan and Slack support as well. And it should be in the comments in the webinar or in the Zoom thing now. But yeah, that's an insane value and offer. But yeah, I hope that was really useful from like all the tips we've had. Honestly, yeah, Ellie, you did such a great job. And I really enjoyed it. It was like such a great conversation. And yeah, I don't know if you have any kind of final words or anything. But yeah.
No, I guess yeah, thanks everyone for joining. If we didn't get to your questions and they're burning, like you can reach out to us on LinkedIn or whatever. Happy to chat. As I said at the beginning, we're both very passionate about this topic, so we'd happily chat about it all day.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we finished actually a bit early. So, yeah, you guys have everyone like 4 minutes back. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. We'll send an email as well with the recording, the slides, everything. So you guys can like review it. But yeah, definitely like try to take action on some of those things we discussed today because I think like super valuable and super helpful from, two people who've like been there and done it. So yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
All
Actually,
right.
final thing I will say is,
Yeah.
and I'm not being paid to say this, genuinely AdManage has helped my team so much. They say to me now, like they reckon they're saving like at least half a day to a day's time a week uploading ads, which is the most boring thing ever, realistically, especially when you're doing it in a really manual way. So it's good to like as I said, get the like speed and velocity that's needed, but also just keep your team happy and motivated because it means they can spend more time on like interesting strategic things, looking at the data, analyzing insights, etc. So yeah, kind of highly recommend. And like I said in the comments, absolutely gutted that we didn't get the 90% discount, Ralph.
Yeah,
A good one.
yeah, it is a good one. Again, no one has ever gone that, so it is an insane offer. But thank you for the kind words. Really appreciate that. And yeah, it's been so good seeing you guys scale as well. Like so awesome. Cool. All right. Well,
Everybody,
thanks so much, everyone, and see you soon.
bye.
Bye.